much time to introduce them. They can introduce themselves because we do have a lot of them and there's a lot of information we want to convey. But I just want to say that this is both, this is a region of India, northeastern India, near the very bordering Bangladesh, which doesn't often get the attention that it deserves. And so with that, I do want to start with Raju Rajagopal of the Hindus for Human Rights organization. So Raju.
Thank you all, dear friends. Before we hear our main speakers today, I would like to make a few introductory remarks on the long record of anti-minority violence by the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, VHP, which has been implicated in the Tripura violence. The VHP was founded in 1964 as the religious arm of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, the RSS, with the aim of, quote, consolidating Hindu society and protecting Hindu Dharma. But its not so hidden agenda was to compete with Christian missionaries in the tribal areas and to, quote, stop conversions. The VHP America was founded in 1970 to spread its wings in the diaspora. In 1984, VHP moved from mere rhetoric to vigilantism with the formation of the Bajrang Dal, whose writ was to translate VHP's anti-minority plank into street enforcement. The gruesome burning of Australian pastor Graham Staines and his young children in the state of Odisha in 1999 was the work of Bajrang Dal. VHP's incitement to violence took another sharp turn in 1990 when the Bharatiya Janata Party's L.K. Advani embarked on a Rath Yatra, a chariot procession across India in support of VHP's call for a Ram temple to replace the 15th century Babri Masjid in Ayodhya. His yatra left deadly riots in its wake and hundreds of people died, mostly Muslims. The Rath Yatra had literally turned into Rakt Yatra, meaning a bloody procession. Also in 1990, VHP America founded the Hindu Students' Council to spread its ideology among students on campuses here. In recent years, HSC has also been relentless in its attacks on US academics as Hindu-phobic. The turning point for Indian democracy came in December 1992, when a VHP Bajrang Dal-led mob demolished the Babri Masjid, leading to massive unrest across India. More than 2,000 people died in the aftermath, mostly Muslims. Soon after, in August 1993, the very same leadership that had brought down the Ayodhya Mosque landed in full force in Washington, D.C. to participate in the massive Vision 2000 conference at the invitation of VHP America. By all accounts, that conference was a major milestone in cementing VHP's allyship with VHP America. It was also a fertile ground to identify emerging leaders for the cause. Almost every Hindu spiritual leader at the conference at which I was present spoke of the tolerance and noble values of Hinduism, but not one of them could summon the humanity in them to acknowledge the destruction of the masjid or its violent aftermath. The 2001 Gujarat earthquake strengthened the BJP-VHP's hold on power. The result was the elevation of Narendra Modi as chief minister of the state and the deadly anti-Muslim pogroms in 2002. VHP had clearly orchestrated the mob violence, ostensibly in reaction to horrific Godhra train burning. Over 1,000 people died, again, mostly Muslims. The state VHP leader later admitted that a list of Muslim homes and businesses to target had been prepared beforehand. VHP flyers of the time calling for a boycott of all Muslim businesses were remarkably similar to anti-Tutsi flyers that had preceded the Rwanda genocide. In 2018, the CIA briefly named VHP and Bajrang Dal as militant religious outfits, but apart from the label, it had no real impact on VHP's march. On the contrary, Narendra Modi's election in 2014 and 2019 has only further emboldened the VHP. In 2020, along with other Hindutva groups, VHP was accused of instigating the deadly Delhi riots, which took 53 lives once again majority Muslim, and left Delhi a highly polarized city. In early 2021, VHP America planned to host the leader of a Hindu extremist organization and a temple priest who had gone on record calling for genocidal violence against Muslims in India. I want to exterminate all Muslims and eradicate Islam from the face of the earth, he had said. His provocative video had been viewed 30 million times on Facebook. Yet, VHP America had no qualms about inviting him until organized protests by groups like ours forced him to cancel the event. The fact that Facebook has not taken out the post is another story for another day. Such is the violent road that VHP has been on from Gujarat to Tripura via Delhi and Ayodhya. Where will that road lead to next? I leave you with three troubling questions. Why are we allowing the VHP to operate here? Why haven't we imposed a travel ban on people known to be inciting violence in India? When is the Biden administration going to heed all the telltale signs of possible genocide violence in India? I hope some of you will raise these questions with the administration and with the Congress. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Raju, for that framing of the historical context here. And I also want to invite now Yvonne Noisette, who is a legislative assistant for the for Congressman Thomas Swazi, who represents the 3rd Congressional District in New York. Yvonne, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. Can you all hear me? Can all hear me? Okay, thank you so much for putting this together, this gathering to discuss this very important issue, this set of issues about religious freedom and pluralism and peaceful coexistence in India and in the region more broadly. The congressman couldn't be here today, but he wants all of you to know how important these issues are to him and how grateful he is for groups like yours that shine a light on these issues. And as you all probably know, the congressman consistently speaks out against all acts of racial or religious hatred, sectarianism of all kinds, or intolerance, no matter the faith and no matter the society. And he has a consistent record of doing so. He's spoken out against the inhumane treatment of Muslims in, for example, Xinjiang, China. He sort of led an effort to create a Uyghur caucus in the House. He was instrumental in passing and was a lead co-sponsor of the Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act. And that bill will actually be on President Biden's desk soon. For many Hindus, for example, last month, he wrote a letter to Secretary of State Antony Blinken to highlight recent issues in Bangladesh. And during the Hindu festival of Durga Puja, there were some perpetrators who vandalized or torched dozens of homes and businesses in Hindu communities, and that led to a 7-day sort of period of sectarian violence. And sadly, people died and many people were injured in the hundreds. And it was one of the deadliest episodes of violence since 2016 of this kinds of religious violence. And these things have they're rising in the region, right? I think some of what was shared a few moments ago, that's reflected in Bangladesh, that's reflected in Pakistan, that's reflected in India as well. So it's a very charged moment. And it's a moment that sort of requires people in Congress, diplomats, grassroots leaders, civil society to all shine a light on what's going on, to take these issues very seriously, to condemn and denounce all acts of religious hatred and violence, and to make sure that governments are held accountable, that political parties are held accountable as well. Journalists are doing this work, human rights lawyers are doing this work, and the congressman thinks it's very important to use his voice as well to ensure that people know what's going on and we can hold perpetrators accountable. So there are other areas of the world as well where the congressman has sort of spoken out. In Northern Ireland, more recently, he spoke out against sectarian violence, sort of things that haven't happened since the early 1990s that began to happen there. And that was a source of huge concern. And he's worked with constituents to ensure that civil society can make their voices heard. So he's been a national leader on this. He's also been a national leader on gun violence. And he asked me to share a statement with all of you today. And this is reflected in much of what he shared over the past few years, what he shared in the past few months, and indeed the past few days as well. And we have many meetings with constituents about these issues. And again, a range of different sort of religions and societies, ethnicities that are affected. And he asked me to share that, as he said many times, quote, "We must speak out loud and clear anytime anyone is harassed in prison, persecuted, tortured, or killed for seeking out to live their faith. An attack on religious freedom anywhere is an attack on religious freedom anywhere. Recent attacks on both Hindus in Bangladesh and Muslims in India and in the region more broadly are extremely disturbing, and governments must be held accountable. These are not the only places in the world with religious, ethnic, or racial hate or violence. Hate-fueled violence aimed at any person belonging to a religious minority on the basis of or in the name of religion, faith, or belief must always be condemned, and I always condemn it. I call on all groups in civil society to urge their governments to rein in extremists and encourage calm. Revenge and retaliatory attacks of any kind are never the answer. I applaud the work of journalists, human rights lawyers, nonprofit leaders, and other grassroots leaders that shine light on these issues and encourage citizens to promote religious tolerance and religious freedom. While I cannot be here today, I know that all of you, and I indeed also, will continue to be a tireless supporter of this important work, and I'll continue to lift up my voice to denounce sectarian and communal violence of all forms. Thank you, and I hope you all have a successful and productive meeting, and I look forward to working with you in the future. So that's the statement that he asked me to sort of provide for all of you. He also asked me to listen to all of your questions, all of your concerns, so that he has just the latest updates on the work that you're doing and any developments that maybe he's not aware of. As you know, the international press sometimes lags behind press in the countries, and we sort of have to compare information. Sometimes human rights reports and investigations come out several months, even years after certain events. So it's very important that he knows what's happening right now so that he can use his positionality in a way to shine a light and raise these issues. As I mentioned with the Uyghur Forced Labor Protection Act, he was an original co-sponsor of that. He used his voice to sort of call out what was happening in Xinjiang, and he did it repeatedly over the course of months and years to get that legislation passed. He is not shy about ensuring that we use our diplomatic tools to address these issues as well. And he does use his voice, whether it's on social media, other letters, speaking with constituents, et cetera, to address these issues as I've shared and discussed. So I'm here to be all ears. I'm here to take notes and to listen to anything that you want to share as well. And again, he sort of apologizes for not being able to be here in person today and thanks you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Norset. That was actually very helpful. And just for the audience and fellow panelists, I think that anything that members of Congress can do to raise issues of human rights concerns can and does actually have an impact. And so it is very important that we continue to raise these issues with Congressman Swazi's office and also other offices on Capitol Hill. So thank you again. Now I'd like to go to two of the journalists who were targeted and actually arrested solely for their reporting in Tripura, and we're very honored to have them and hear their story on what they experienced and also how they could speak for how they are speaking for the voice of some of the people who have been most affected in this recent violence in Tripura. So now I'd like to introduce Swarna Jha and Samriddhi Sakunia, who are two journalists who can join, and they can share their thoughts together. Go ahead. Swarna and Samriddhi.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Please go ahead. And please introduce yourselves and just tell us a little bit about yourselves, and also just tell us about the context of the arrest and some of the
So I am Swarna Jha, a working correspondent at HW News Network, and I am here to talk about how the journalists, lawyers, and activists are targeted by the state and the police of Tripura while raising their voice against anti-Muslim violence, which started in month of October 2021. My colleague and I decided to cover the ground reality of this very alleged news, which got more information from various other social media platforms. Before we dive right into how my experience was while covering this story, I would like to throw some light on the reason why the anti-Muslim violence was taking place in the first place. Okay, so a piece of news came floating from our neighboring country, Bangladesh, during one of the most celebrated Hindu festival, Durga Puja. The Hindu minority community in Bangladesh was targeted and attacked by the majority community in Bangladesh. As a reciprocation of the same, the Muslim minority community was targeted in Tripura. Hence, we decided to cover this story and reach the ground reality. And we reached Tripura on November 11th, and we visited the places which were said to have faced allegedly the most violence in the past few days. We were collected all our ground reports for 3 days and were preparing to leave by the end of the 4th day. However, things started to get really serious from the Tripura police end by the end of the 3rd day. The hotel, in the face of giving us security, reached our hotel at 10:30 p.m. In our hotel on our 3rd night, it was communicated to us, but a lot of mental pressure and surface intimidation was channelized from their end. We didn't think much of it since it was night time already. We had an early morning train to catch the following day. Since we were staying in a village called Dharmnagar, we had another flight to catch from nearby city. The police had stayed overnight outside our hotel, and by the time we checked out from our hotel around 5:15 a.m. to leave to catch our train, we were stopped from even leaving our hotel by the Tripura police. They conveyed that an FIR was registered against us by a VHP member, and they wanted to take us for a questioning in the Unakoti district. The IPC sections imposed on us were quite brutal, which included 120B, criminal conspiracy, 153A, promoting enmity between two groups, 504 in India, the police cannot take in women for questioning before sunrise and after sunset. Hence, we refused to go with them. They then proposed that they are ready to perform their interrogation in the hotel itself by setting up a camera there. We declined their request and communicated to them that we have a right to a lawyer, and we would also like to inform our organization regarding this matter. We were ready to cooperate with the police. However, they were too lean on taking us along. We requested them to show us our FIR copy. We also asked them to issue a 41A notice to appear at the police station on the date mentioned in the notice. We were intimidated and harassed by the Tripura police for 3 hours straight in our hotel, and by the end of the same, they finally issued a 41A notice, according to which we had to appear at the 45 PA police station on or before November 21st. By this time, we had missed our train, so we now booked a cab and the city we wanted to catch our flight from. On our way to the city airport, we were detained by Assam police. Upon questioning our detainment, we were informed that the Assam police was followed Tripura police instructions. By the time, we weren't aware of the fact that there was a second FIR filed against us by Kakraban police station in Udaipur district. It was 5:30 in the evening when a squad team of Tripura police reached, and the squad team had arrived there to detain us and take us back to Tripura. We asked them to show us a copy of FIR and order issues against us, to which they firmly denied, even though we were ready to cooperate. And it's our right to arrange a lawyer for our defense. Tripura Police was against all the proposal. I was manhandled by a lady police officer at the Assam police station. She pushed me and almost snatched my phone away by force, because they didn't have the correct papers issue with the hens. We managed to keep ourselves from getting detained. We were then sent a shelter home in Assam at around 9 p.m. and were told that we would taken to Tripura police station the following days. Now, if you all think it has been a pretty long day so far, there's more to come. At 12:30 in the night, Tripura Police arrived at our shelter home to arrest us with 4 police jeeps, 1 bus with full of CRPF personnel, and 1 SUV car. We were taken away from our shelter homes at around 1 o'clock in the night. After completing the regular arresting procedure and protocol, we were made to travel the entire night to reach Tripura. We were made to appear in the next day. We were made to appear in the Udaipur District Court the following day. We thankfully released on bail. The condition for the insurance of our bail were we had to appear in Kakravan police station every first day of every month, and we also had to be available and present in the police station as when police felt necessary by when felt necessary by the police, that would help the investigation. With the bail issued, it was made clear to the public that the situation's intensity was severely toned down. However, it was made the beginning of more intimidation and mental harassment by Tripura police, and this time legally. We were interrogated 4 times in 15 days for about 9 to 13 hours each day. During our interrogation, we were called writers who came to Tripura to work and report against the state. As journalists, it's our duty to research and report the injustice and wrong in society. Even though we were working in all our honesty and sincerity with no intention of harm, we were framed and treated like criminals for the entire duration. It is evident that my colleague and I went through several trauma and unimaginable level of mental torture as journalists. However, our respective families and close friends went through all things similar during the coverage of this entire episode. We in India emphasize a lot on women empowerment, and we all stand with the right of freedom of speech and freedom of press. And on the same lines, just putting it out here for you all to know that the press freedom index in India has been consistently declining since 2014, which thoroughly justifies the state in power targeting and manipulating the press. We were not only journalists that were targeted and wronged. It was our luck that our story was brought to light and was made public to this extent. However, many stories in India that go untold. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was very powerful. Samriddhi, do you have any comments as well to follow up?
Hi everybody, thank you for having me. I think Swarna has pretty much told everything and covered everything. I just have few things to cover up. That since I have been covering Tripura violence, communal violence from the very start of the day, I think I won't use any alleged word here, because after going on the ground and witnessing everything, I don't think there's any hidden truth in this. So on 14th morning, when we were surrounded by around 20 plus police officers in the hotel lobby, I think it felt close to being a criminal who needed to be dragged to police station, which was not possible without any huge police force. You know what was the irony? Among the 20 police or the army of men there were only 2 women journalists. After going through everything, I have come to this conclusion that the state is very scared. They are scared of, particularly of women who try to speak up, against them. And I have few instances to back what I say, because in a trembling democracy like ours, it's very, in a trembling democracy like ours, even to utter a word, we have to be very careful, because if we are not careful or we do not have facts to back it up, we have to pay a very heavy price. So on one hand, while the mainstream media very easily blinded away from the real news, like they always do, The digital people and individuals on Twitter took the onus to become the voice of voiceless. When the vandalization and burning of various mosques from Tripura made a huge news, a very handful of people or news portals covered it. It would be absolute naive on my part or for anybody to think that Swarna and I got arrested because we were on the ground. No, we were always on the radar of Tripura Police because they following me on Twitter, their district police officers following me on Twitter, their replies on my Twitter tweets were very evident that I have made myself very vulnerable and was being watched every time. Covering the vandalization and burning of Dargah Bazar Masjid on 11th November from Ground Zero just gave them more authority, or let's say very easy to catch us. On 13th, when we reached Pal Bazar Masjid to cover again the burning and vandalization of Masjid there, we were welcomed by huge police force. They said, "Your security is our concern." From my car to the masjid and far away distance, all I could see was police officers all around us. Probably, I think, waiting for us to come so that they could lodge a complaint against us. I'm not actually kidding you because that's what actually happened in the next day. After escorting us everywhere and clicking my end number of pictures on their phone for the entire day, we sensed of something that was not just limited to security. Next day, when we were checking out from our hotel, we saw a line of police officers who asked us to reach to the nearest police station because some VHP guy had lodged a complaint against us. Just note, all of this was happening before the sunrise and no further notice was served to us. And I think there is something very funny here. It was the same bunch of police officers who gave us security yesterday, who was with us for the entire day. And today they came up with an FIR stating that we were trying to instigate the Muslims against Hindus. I wonder how these people are going to even put this argument ahead of the court, because the court is obviously going to ask them if these two girls were trying to instigate violence against against Hindus, what were you guys doing then? Uh, but nevertheless, after banging our heads for more than 3 hours with them, we were sent. We were served with a 41A notice, and that was a relief for us. Little did we know that administration had things planned for us. On our way to Silchar, when we were going to catch our flight, our car was abruptly stopped at Neelam Bazar police station by the officers. For good initial 20 minutes, neither we were told nor we were served with any notice as to why we were being detained. They just told us that they have got an order. And as Swarna told you guys, she mentioned she was manhandled by a police officer as well. This says a lot about the degrading law and order in our country. In India, where we were made to sit in the police station from 2:30 in the afternoon till 6:30 without any formal order or notice. The violation of basic human rights did not just stop there. Upon the arrival of Tripura Police at around 7, we were denied any legal aid or showcase of any formal order or arrest warrant. The escort team then threatened us to go with them or else strict action will be taken. Again, note, all of this was happening post sunset, where women were forced to sit without any warrant or transit remand. Sensing a lot of ruckus all around us, the escort team decided that we will be taken to shelter home and not to 150 kilometers far away to Tripura at night. After all the formalities were done, we reached the shelter home. It was very dark, absolutely no light and sound of neighbors. After getting our bags checked, each pair of jeans, top, and everything checked, we were really devastated. I think I actually forgot to mention about the shelter home. It was a 3-story building with an iron gate, in each floor secured with 2 locks. The house was fully empty, giving us a sense that we were being trained for jail and again felt like some wanted criminal. Again, all of this was done without any formal complaint. I'm focusing on the complaint because it again shows how there is no respect for law and order and how the state can go they can stoop down to any level to harass anybody who go against them or to bring out the truth. As much as I or Swarna never wanted to feel like a criminal, I guess the police and the state left no chance to make us feel like one. I'm mentioning the state here, even when the case is on, because I think there is no chance that the state had no knowledge, or this was all of this was done without the knowledge or consent of those sitting in power. Only after a long tiring day, when we tried going to sleep, we could hear the voice of jeeps coming down, like down the building. Not after long, at around 12:30, we were asked to get ready and come down, for we had to leave for Tripura. I still wonder the intensity of fear or threat which the state might have felt while arresting two women journalists from their own shelter home, because, repeating, four jeeps, one minivan full of CRPF, and one Scorpio full of police officers just to catch two women journalists. That's too much
One more minute.
pressure.
Okay. Please continue 1 more minute.
Yeah, that I think that's too much to curb the freedom of press and freedom of speech. I think after 12 hours, we got bail from Udaipur court. Since that day, the intimidation hasn't reduced, but it has increased, because apparently bail took off all the media attention out of the court, out of the case, giving a free hand to the police to interrogate us in any manner they want. I'd like to end by saying that in India, Modi and his government advertises a lot about Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. I think the irony is, you don't let them read, you don't let them speak, you don't let them work. It's just that you talk a lot about women empowerment, but at the very same time, you try to hunt them down by using all the machinery you have in power, in control. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to both of you, Swarna and Samriddhi. That's very gripping testimony about the what had happened to them when covering the violence in Tripura. I'd like to now introduce Ansarul Haq Ansari and his colleague Mukesh, who were on the ground and documented it as part of the fact-finding. They can introduce themselves further and also talk a little bit about about the context and what they saw during their visit. Ansarul.
Thank you, Govind. Muslims are a minorities in Tripura, and most of the population are Hindu. Among them, a large portion is of Hindus who have come from Bangladesh. Lately, there have been many attacks on Hindus in Bangladesh. The attacks on Muslims in Tripura are done in reaction to those attacks. All the communities in Tripura live peacefully, but the threat of communalism that is increasing is dangerous for the unity and harmony of the country. Previously, there were not many attacks here in response to the ones in Bangladesh by majority Muslims, except a few of them. In this case of violence, there is a political design. This has strengthened the basis of conspiracies. The recent violence is motivated by the politics, because when religious fractures are created in the country, people do not demand employment, development, education, but only get tangled in Hindu-Muslim fight. The Hindutwadi organizations are getting influenced by those people in Bangladesh who went to kick the Hindus out of the country and want India's relationship with Sheikh Hasina to deteriorate. If they get successful in their aim in Bangladesh, it will directly affect the development of Tripura, and more refugees will come in an area which is already densely populated, and peace will be disturbed in the area. The division between Hindu and Muslim that will be created after this violence is done to take political advantage. The fact-finding team found out that such incidents could have been prevented had the police and administrations handled the situation strictly. 4 days before this incident, Muslim organizations meet with CM Biplab Kumar Dev and inform him that such incident could take place and there is a danger to the peace between Hindu and Muslims. Despite this, the government not taking any action is tantamount to sponsoring this violence. There is an atmosphere of fear regarding the attacks on religious palaces, houses, and shops of Muslims, which is a new thing for the northeastern states. Bangladesh has investigated the case and the people who were involved in the violence there in Bangladesh. The Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, meet people to Hindu community right after the violence. The government also arrested many people and ministers of government meet with victims of the Hindu communities as well. But the BJP government of Tripura did not take any such step. Our fact-finding team is found 12 masjids that have been targeted, 9 shops of Muslims have been targeted, 3 houses of Muslims have been targeted. In our fact-finding, we already wrote in 8 demands. One is the government should make an inquiry committee headed by the retired High Court judge and get the whole incident investigated. Separate FIR must be filed on the complaint of victims. Due to this incident, all the people whose business have suffered financially loss should get appropriate compensation by the state government, and it should be compensated soon that these incidents people can get their life back on track and their business and work can resume smoothly. The government should get the religious palace damaged in Erson and Saptod rebuilt there at their expense. This type of some demands we already wrote in our fact-finding report. I understand that the investigation against us by the Tripura government is to hide their own failure. In reality, the facts and evidence that the government wanted to hide were brought before the public by us. That is why the government booked a case against us under the UAPA as the were unhappy. Secondly, I also understand that the government was preventing anybody from visiting Tripura because they did not want the facts to be reviewed either in Tripura or outside in other state. We had released a fact-finding report on the violence in Tripura, because of which a case against us was booked under UAPA. And the Tripura Police summoned us and notice under section 41A of the Indian Penal Code. In the notice, offences under section 153A, 153B, creating enmity between groups based on religious, caste, place of birth, residence, language. Section 469, conspiracy to deliberately cause damage. 503, criminal intimidation. 504, intentional insult with the intent to provoke breach of peace. And 120B, punishment for criminal conspiracy are mentioned. The Supreme Court bench comprising of Chief Justice of India, N.V. Ramanna, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, and Justice Suryakant ordered on 17th of November that no corrective steps shall be taken against 2 lawyers and 1 journalist who were booked by the Tripura Police under UAPA for alleged social media posts in the report. We had also challenged the constitutional validity of UAPA section 20 subclause 1, which defines unlawful activities. Section 13, punishment for unlawful activities, and Section 43D, subclause 5, provision for bail. The Supreme Court has given us relief on our petition. We have heard that the Chief Minister of Tripura, Biplab Dev, has directed that the case against the journalists and the lawyers will be reviewed.
1 more minute, please.
I think my colleague Mukesh will be give some comments on these reports and these notes. Thank you.
Mukesh.
Yeah, hello everyone. Actually, I would like to introduce myself. I was one of the member of the team which went for fact finding in Tripura, and basically, I was much more interested in providing legal help and finding out what was exactly going on the ground. Because before reaching there, we waited for 3 to 4 days that some uh, team from political opposition or some renowned media channels will go there and find out the fact. Because what was coming in the media was almost a mix of fake news and the reality. So it was very much difficult sitting here in Delhi, far away from Tripura, to find out what exactly was happening there. So eventually, uh, means the team was made. I joined it. I was the last member to join the team, and everyone in the team was senior to me. So we went there, and what happened has already been briefed by Ansarul sir, and I won't go into that. But I will like to share that the way the authorities treated us, like the way authorities acted upon our fact-finding report, and thereafter the arbitrariness and the irrationality committed by the authorities. Like the FIR which we have been named into, that FIR contains 102 links. All of the links and which were there in the FIR, none of was us, like from neither of mine and nor of my team members. So they were in a notice, the 41A notice issued to us, they asked us to delete posts. So actually none of the posts were from us. So how can we delete a post of someone else? So it was, I was not able to really understand at why this notice has been sent to us, because the crime they are saying has been committed. We were not even involved in that, or even we cannot link to that this has been done, and the links has been shared over there in the FIR. None of were us. So it was really shocking for us. For first 1 or 2 days, we thought that there is some mistake on the part of the authorities who have sent this notice to us, and we are surprised and shocked both at the same time. We thought that somehow we need to communicate with authorities to know what exactly happening on their part, and we just wish to clear that particular confusion we thought were there. But lately we got to understand from various news channels and all that no, they were very much aware of our fact finding team, and they have booked us on on some frivolous grounds, what they felt that serious charges like section 13 of UAPA can attract upon us. So this was how the whole thing of prosecuting us done. It was irrational on its parts and completely arbitrary. And apart from that, the after effect of this whole incident, I would like to talk about. Like once this UAPA has been slapped upon us, we come across things which was not expected from a society like India. We have been very open, and we have been very open in sharing our views on different social media platforms. And if I think all of these participants here must be knowing that the Indian population is quite vocal about their political views. But since this UAPA notice came to me, I can sense around me, and I can even I was very sure to see that people around me got scared of talking about the establishment, about the government, against the policies of the government. Even I came across few people who were not very easy talking to me on phone. They knew that I'm quite clear, and they knew me from very long time, but they were scared. And that's what I would clearly want to mention here. What has been done to us, the 4 members of the fact-finding team, to the journalist, Samriddhi and Swara, and apart from them, what has happened to Shyam Meera. It is also very interesting to know what has happened to him. He wrote a simple tweet.
One more minute, Mukesh. Sorry.
Yeah, just. Oh, okay, fine. So it's only 1 more minute left, right?
Correct.
Sorry, hello.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay, fine, okay. So that's what I just want to mention here and bring to all of others notice. Thus, the chilling effect what this whole thing has done in the society and the society around us. The people who have come across with a very silly things like just tweeting a sentence or going on a fact finding for lawyers can attract this kind of serious charges will really discourage people around us for taking this kind of endeavors and even talking openly on social media platforms against the authorities. So this will be a long time effect. And even I believe that we'll get acquitted from the Honorable Supreme Court of India. We have immense confidence in them, but even after it won't be a one situation for us. It will somehow we'll be on the losing side. Like we'll lose our confidence in speaking openly against the authorities, which has been long secured post our freedom. Even before freedom, our freedom fighters has been very vocal against authorities. So we thought that we inherited this from our freedom struggle, and at any cost, I don't wish to lose this. So I appeal to everyone that please keep on speaking against the authorities if you feel they are doing anything wrong. I would like to conclude with these remarks. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, for both of you for presenting here today. Our next speaker will be Shyam Meera Singh, who's a journalist, and if you can just introduce yourself as well before starting, and then you can present with your.
Hello everyone. Am I audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. I would firstly like to express my gratitude for your kind consideration in having me in the panel and letting me share a few of my experiences. I am a Delhi-based journalist who has worked with India's two most influential media groups, Times Group and India Today, and I'm currently working with NewsClick. The inclination of the entire global politics towards the right-wing ideology is a matter of concern of every one of us. And exactly the same is happening in India right now in an extreme fascist form. People are being lynched in the name of religion, mostly Muslims, in the name of caste, mostly Dalits, or in the name of gender and even sexual orientation. In India, Hindu extremist crowd can kill anyone, can burn anyone's house, and I was one of the people from the same crowd. I was a staunch supporter of Sri Narendra Modi and his fascist Hindutva nationalistic agenda. I used to chant slogans in support of his political rallies when he first came into the power. But 5 months ago, I was terminated from my job for my tweet, Modi is a shameless prime minister. This transformation in me is not sudden. It came by during the global pandemic as a result of frustration that built up when lakhs of people were dying while the prime minister of my country was rallying for elections amongst the crowd. It also built up when innocent students from the minority groups were killed in Delhi riots while protesting against CAA NRC movement. And everyone knows who was behind this. On October 26 this year, a Hindu mob in Tripura was protesting against the Bangladesh government. Then suddenly some news flashed that the Hindu mob had attacked Muslim shop and burnt people's house down. Even some mosques were vandalized. To this, I wrote a tweet to inform the government, to media and our people, Tripura is burning. Only these three words were tweeted by me. For writing only these three words, BJP government of Tripura imposed UAPA on me. But it was not just me. There were 100 plus 2 people in the list. More than 95 of them are Muslims. Ironically, the same community that suffered vandalism in Tripura violence. UAPA stands for Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. This is one of the most draconian law this land has ever had. The act was initially supposed to stop external threats to the country, but now it is rampantly being used on innocent citizens mostly Muslim and Dalit, opposition leaders and student activists and so on. You must all be aware of Omar Khalid, a student activist from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Sudha Bharadwaj, a lawyer and activist working for the tribal communities whose lands are being illegally occupied by the industrialists for mining and other purposes. In recent instance, a Kashmiri human rights defender, Khurram Parvez Baz, also slept with this UAPA and was arrested by India's top intelligence agency, NIA. Now you can understand how this law is being used and with what intention. When I got to know about UAP on me, I was celebrating Diwali at my home with my family in Uttar Pradesh. Suddenly, I had to move back to Delhi because of the security concerns and to safeguard myself from the police. Besides that, I did not want this incident to take a toll on my family. I wrote on Twitter that for tweeting only these 3 words, Tripura is burning, Tripura government has imposed UAP on me. I reiterate, I will never hesitate to stand up for justice. PM of my country might be a coward. We journalists are not. I'm not afraid of your jails. I started receiving immense support from our people, media fraternity, and also from lawyers. Then I got a call from India's most reputed lawyer, Prashant Bhushanji, who was willing to fight my case, that too pro bono. We went to the Supreme Court that fortunately accepted an urgent hearing of the case. Then on November 17, our case was heard by the Honorable Supreme Court, which went on to give us a legal protection and instructed the Tripura government to not take any coercive action against us. It issued a notice to the Tripura government regarding the same. Now, this case is under trial. Hope justice will prevail. But this is a long, long journey, which is not only about me, but also about humanity. I was a supporter of Hindu fascist nationalistic idea. Now I understand that if one person, one village, one town, one district, one caste, one religion is not safe in your country, then nobody is safe in your country. I strongly believe in 3 values of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, and fraternity. I not only hope, but solemnly believe in all this mess, love will win over hatred like love win over me. Thank you for your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, बहुत बहुत आभार.
Thank you very much for your comments. It was very powerful. And finally, last but very much not least, because we have a very important end to it, is someone from the People's Union for Civil Liberties, Kavita Shrivastava. She's on next. If you can introduce yourself and also present your comments. Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Sorry, I've been rushing up and down the city while we are looking at a very good side.
You did fade. You have faded a little bit, unfortunately. So.
Hello. Am I audible?
Now you're okay. Yes.
Okay. So what I was saying, that while it's very important to be upset and what's happening in our country, but it's also important to celebrate. I'm coming from meeting Sudha Bharadwaj. I'm in Bombay, who was arrested 3 years ago under UAP and she was released a few days ago. And a lot of us in the PUCL met today and pledged that we are really going to change things together. So I'm glad that we, as part of how we can work non-violently, we are connecting with all of you.
Sorry, your voice has gotten very soft again. I apologize for interrupting. No, you may have to get closer to the microphone or some other thing. I'm sorry. While she's getting that set up, if you have any questions, if you put it in the Q&A section, we could try to answer it as quickly as possible. I know we're coming to the end, but I want to make sure that if there's anything that we can answer in writing, we can do so. You could do that in the Q&A box as Kavita is getting her headphones on.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, now, thank you. Yes.
Okay. Sorry, my computer's giving me trouble. So all I'm saying that things are very grim, and my very, very young friends who are like in their 20s have come under attack by the Indian state. And I first want to say that actually I want to talk about the role of the VHP in this whole thing and why it's very important for this particular briefing, for us to focus on the role of the VHPs. I'll just quickly go through some events and name a few people here. And all of us know that the VHP, through its Hydra-headed, RSS is Hydra-headed, VHP is Hydra-headed, and they get a lot of funding in dollars from the US. So it's very important to know actually what that money is going for. That money is going to just completely cause Islamophobia, build a whole society, a culture of violence is penetrating deep into society. And this is something extremely scary about what's happening. And if that can be checked, I think it's very, very important. So it's very important to be very focused in this whole meeting. So what I want to say that in the run-up, just I don't know whether this got highlighted, but in the run-up to the violence in Tripura, 51 rallies organized by the VHP in Tripura to protest the anti-Hindu attacks in Bangladesh. I'm not going into them because I heard one of the speakers mention it. And of course, all of us know that the various incidents of violence, one group puts it at 16 mosques, there were 10 total incidents of violence, vandalizing 16 mosques, burning down shops, etc. So, I mean, on the 19th of October, you have actually a press conference done, an online press conference done by the VHP people from Delhi, and giving a call that that on the 20th, there should be a nationwide protest against what's happening in Bangladesh. And what happens then is these various rallies in Tripura. So the speeches in the rallies are something like this: if Hindus in India unite, Muslims, who constitute 15% of the population, will not be able to even survive 15 minutes. And this one of the leaders told the crowd, and this was happening in Dharmanagar, the second largest urban locality in Tripura, where the war cry Jai Shri Ram and Jai Bhavani, these were actually, these are the war cry which allowed for escalation in violence. And there were a series of such speeches that were given out. So there is Sudhanshu Das, who's an elected MP from Fatik Roy, where the first case on Samriddhi and Swarna happened. There, such a call is given. On social media, such provocative messages, you see them on 17th of October. So on the 8th, and then on the 18th of October, you see one of the organizations, Hindu Jagran Manch, that organized a rally in Udaipur, where the second case on Samriddhi and Swarna happens, to protest the atrocities. Again, there is this, call given to attack Hindus. And of course, they show these images. A lot of them are fake. They show images of Bengal, and some of those images are from other places. And they say that you want this to happen in Tripura, where they're trying to show that idols have been desecrated and things like that. So this kind of violence goes on and on. What I'm trying to say is that that there is solid evidence to prove that the VHP is directly involved, and through its various organizations, it is. I mean, I don't think I have so much time to go through a lot of what the VHP statements are saying, what the VHP various social media handles are saying, it's very evident.
Unfortunately, one more minute, actually, sorry.
Yeah, so I just want to end, just give me a moment. Just a bit. Yeah, so we try to look into some of the some of the organizations that were directly working on this. So there is this. There are 2-3 organizations: Sadhak Ratnamani Seva Sadan, Baba Longthirai Sevashram. Now, again, very clearly, we found evidence of the people who are heading these organizations, who are directly calling themselves from the VHP. On their Twitter handles, they're writing they're from the VHP. And definitely they had a role in the violence. The direct link we are still trying to establish. So what I want to say is that the PUCL report, which of course talks of what happened in what happened to Muslims, but it also talks of how it is all built up. Now, for the same, suppose there is a misreporting, like it's not 102 URLs, it's 128 today URLs that are part of a scanner from Twitter via the Tripura, under the scanner of the Tripura Police with Twitter, because of the kind of laws we have in India, just handing over information. So they send letters. Tripura Police sends letters that we want everything about them, their details, including their browsing history. There is one young girl who did something, a very simple tweet about what's happening in Tripura, and she sent the letter that she got from Twitter, where the Tripura Police, the Twitter says the Tripura Police has asked for this, including the browsing history, and we will hand over everything if we are not prohibited by an Indian by a court of law. Now, of course, she can only protest, and within 72 hours, you have to do it in India. And most people have ignored these Twitter notices. So what I'm trying to say, that while, while 128 URLs, of which a lot of people are on foreign soil, including IMC, which is governed by the American law. But once the Tripura Police is asking for who IMC is and all about them, Twitter is very easily wanting to facilitate that information. So what I'm trying to say is that 2 things. Number one, the role of the VHP is very much established, and that's something for you to worry, that those dollars that are coming to India are to finish democracy, is to cause an authoritarian state, to create a culture of violence, to kill Muslims, to create genocide. And today it's Muslims, tomorrow it's going to be Christians, and then Dalits. It's going to just go on and on. But secondly, there is just no privacy left within social media. And can something be done about it? How can we have, such social media giants just hand over information? Tomorrow it could be anybody else. It could be China, it could be Russia asking for information. And so therefore, you just end up criminalizing people. You criminalize people because they report. You criminalize people because they just simply retweet. And then you cause a chilling effect. So I really think that as part of finishing democracy world over, social media is being used not just to create divisions, but to also somewhere encroach on our privacy, that we can't even freely do what we want to do. And this really clips my freedom of speech and expression. This has to be stopped also. These are the 2 points that I wish to make.
Thank you very much. And I'm sorry, we've run out of time. There were a number of questions, although they weren't associated. There were a lot of them that were not associated with the topic of hand, although I think some of them are actually important questions that, there are a lot of issues, a lot of human rights issues in India. And unfortunately, we have to, each particular topic, we have to address them one at a time. I really wish that we could have more time for a discussion of the broader implications, but are there any questions related to to the issues that are happening in Tripura that need to be clarified or answered. I mean, we are running over, but I feel like if people want to stay and answer some questions related to Tripura and crackdown there, please let me know. Please let us know, and we can try to answer those. If not, then okay, here's. There is a question actually that I think would be a good one to answer. I don't know who could answer it, but I'm going to sort of rephrase this question about the Tripura public. How on the ground now in Tripura, what is the current context with in terms of whether or not there's any solidarity marches or other types of activities by the civil society within Tripura? Because I think a lot of what we've heard here are we hear voices from India, but are there voices in Tripura who are raising these concerns that that someone can maybe talk about? This is a question not just for you, Kavita.
Yeah, so I just want to add to that. Actually, all this was a build up towards what? All this was a build up towards the local body elections, the urban local body elections that were happening. It was a build up to polarize. Now, I mean, it's crazy how out of 340 seats, 112 seats were won, without any challenge by the BJP. They just did not allow people to come and file the nominations, other parties. And the CPM and the TMC simply, the TMC was the new party, simply got wiped out. This whole thing that happened in the month of October was actually for the 26th November local body elections, where the BJP just swept the elections, and a handful of seats came to CPM and TMC. Now, and lots of cases. Actually, there were so many cases against CPM and TMC people through this whole process and even earlier, that the people who could have fought back for 30 years, CPIM rules, but CPIM is left with no power to fight back because their cadre is just completely decimated and so frightened, terrorized with lots of cases. But I was calling up every political party there. What are you doing when these two young girls young women journalists got arrested, and our friends Mukesh and others? I was calling up every single party, and on a one-on-one basis, I talked to the top authorities of every party, and they said it's just so difficult. The CPM had a nationwide protest on the 1st of December, and that was it. The counter by them. The Jamaat-e Ulema Hind did a report, and some of them also had cases against them. Another student organization, the SIO, both these are Muslim organizations, did a report. They also were criminalized. They also had an FIR. So, whoever tried to do anything. So even today, even the CPIM person told us when we were going for the fact finding that don't come in. They said come incognito, and we will not meet you up front. So we said we're going to do no such thing. We're going to come up front, and we would like to meet you as an opponent political party. What you think? So basically, the group, the political parties that could have come together, they are not there. The intellectuals who could have spoken out were some of the lawyers who represented Mukesh and who represented Samriddhi and Swarna. One of the lawyers, Piyush Biswas, he has just broken out from the CPM and made an independent party. And he told me very frankly when I asked him, he said, well, we have the platform of the court, and that is why we are doing this, and because he's made a small political party, but we don't know how far they can also go. So at the moment, from inside, there aren't too many voices. We've tried our best, and the Editors Guild that went, 3 members of the Editors Guild that went have also come up with similar sort of observations.
Great. All right. Well, I think, unfortunately, I think we are going to have to end it now, but I want to thank all of the people who participated, the panelists especially, but also the people who were listening in on it, and I really appreciate it. I want to especially thank those who were dialing in from India, as obviously these there are just so many issues that we need to address in the coming years within India. And so I want to thank again the people who participated, and we will see you in 2 weeks. So take care, everybody. Bye-bye.